There's a new hierarchy forming in basketball, and at the top of it is Caitlin Clark. Not just the WNBA, not just women's sports, basketball. Her impact is so massive, so undeniable, that even NBA headlines are starting to feel secondary. In Indiana, for the first time ever, an NBA and WNBA team are standing on equal footing. And it's not because the Pacers aren't good, it's because the Fever have Clark. Clark's presence in the sport has transcended expectation. For decades, the WNBA was an afterthought to many sports fans, living in the shadow of the NBA. But now, with Clark at the forefront, that shadow is disappearing. She's not just drawing comparisons, she's drawing fans, attention, revenue, and respect. Her presence has fundamentally altered the conversation, both inside and outside the league.
So the relationship between the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever is obviously bigger than any relationship between anything else, like as far as NBA and WNBA teams are concerned. Obviously, that is the one major relationship between these two brands. And there's a reason for that. There is an absolute reason for that. And it is genuinely one of the best kind of, it's one of those things where it's the one WNBA team, it's the one city where the WNBA team and the NBA team are seen on equal playing field. And the Pacers are good. The Pacers are legitimately good. I don't really care.
The relationship between the Fever and the Pacers isn't just a branding alignment anymore. It's a reflection of how Caitlin Clark is shifting the center of gravity in sports media. For years, WNBA games came and went with little national fanfare. Now, Clark's presence generates more buzz than Luka's buzzer beaters or Westbrook's heroics. This isn't a fluke, it's a changing of the guard. And when you dive into the way Indiana has embraced this, you begin to realize how strategic this rise has been. The Fever are using every available platform to showcase Clark and her teammates. From local news spots to cross-promoted Pacers content, the goal is clear: create a basketball culture that's shared, not siloed. Indiana is becoming a blueprint for what the future of basketball could look like.
And obviously, secondly, the fact that this is it means Caitlin Clark's clearly the face of basketball. Her showing up to a game is more popular than Luka Doncic hitting what seemed to be an unbelievably important shot till they just all stunk up the fourth quarter, the Lakers. And Russell Westbrook having the most Russell Westbrook play couple of possessions I've ever seen. So anyway, yeah, that's just realistically it. The NBA should keep promoting Caitlin. The WNBA should keep promoting her and their other players. The WNBA should be promoting these cross-league links, because the best thing for the WNBA is that it just becomes basketball.
The numbers don't lie. When Clark shows up, eyes follow, even more so than they do for major NBA stars. Social engagement, ticket prices, broadcast viewership, all skyrocketing. And here's the kicker: the NBA is fully aware. The cross-promotion we're seeing between leagues, particularly in Indiana, is no accident. They know she's a draw, and for once, the spotlight is shared. This alignment of interest between two leagues historically divided by perception is a milestone. The Fever and Pacers aren't just sharing an arena, they're sharing a mission. And in doing so, they're expanding the definition of what fandom looks like. It's no longer NBA or WNBA. In Indiana, it's basketball, period.
Is that it is basketball. So it is a thing when fans of, say, if you're a fan of, I think this was the goal all along with the league being in the summer. And it was the goal originally when we were looking at, instead of the Sacramento Kings, the Sacramento Monarchs. What was it? The San Antonio Stars, the New York, obviously they were the Liberty. There was a load of similar kind of names. Instead of Houston Rockets, the Houston Comets. That I think what the NBA is actually doing a better job of now, and the WNBA aren't doing a good job of a lot of the cross-league links, is that the best thing for the league is that it's a continuation.
But it's not just about attention, it's about growth. For decades, people have asked how to grow the WNBA. The answer was never gimmicks or slogans. It was stars, transcendent stars. And Clark is that. Whether she's pulling up from the logo or just walking into an arena, she's redefining what matters. In 2025, a Fever game can matter more than a Pacers playoff matchup. That's power. This is the ultimate sign of legitimacy. When a women's game is no longer a secondary option, but the main event. And Clark isn't doing it alone. She's bringing the league with her. Sponsors, networks, and fans are following because they're seeing something they've never seen before. A female basketball player who commands the same aura as the biggest names in the men's game.
Well, here we go.
You are from Iowa.
Yes.
So how impactful has been Caitlin Clark to Iowa and to women's sports?
I love Caitlin Clark, man. I love Caitlin Clark. I love it. Don't want to get blasphemous here, but I mean, it's Jordan-esque. I mean, she's changed the game. She's so unassuming, you know? You look at her, you don't think anything. You don't think she's a star. You don't think she's going to just be balling out on everybody, and she does, you know? And to see what she's done for women's sports, you know, obviously the WNBA specifically, but just women's sports in general, even the fact that, like, you get all this conflict at the top in the WNBA now about arguing, like, whether or not it should be her or, you know, is like Paige Booker's this company.
Even WWE superstar Seth Rollins is taking notice. Rollins called Clark's impact Jordan-esque, and he's not wrong. She's got the demeanor of Bird, the range of Curry, and the crossover appeal of Jordan. And maybe the biggest sign of her influence? Rollins, a megastar in his own sport, is now planning his streaming schedule around Caitlin Clark's games. That's not respect, that's reverence. This isn't about celebrity endorsement, it's about cultural relevance. Clark's name is leaving the sports page and entering everyday conversation. When someone like Rollins, who's used to commanding arenas of 20,000 people, sees Clark as a peer in entertainment, you know the lines between leagues, between genders, and between platforms are starting to blur.
Coming out this year, and now she's going to be the top dog, and like just this like, is it Angel Reese? Like, who deserves the credit? The fact that we're even having that conversation, I think, is amazing. And to see what she's done and the amount of money she's been able to bring in for the women in sports, I love it. You know, in Iowa, we ain't got much, man. We ain't got no sports teams. That's why I'm a Bears fan. And so to see like people rally behind her is so cool. And like, I get it mostly because my Facebook's private. All my other socials are like, you know, public, but my Facebook's private. It's all my friends from back home in Iowa. So just every time like anything happens with her in the news cycle, like they're all over. They're in such defense of Caitlin Clark, and I just love it. I think she's great. I can't wait.
Let's zoom out. Clark has turned casual sports fans into Fever fans. She's brought new eyes to the WNBA, not for a headline, but for an entire season. And when you have fans checking game times before scheduling live events, you're no longer niche, you're essential. Clark didn't just raise the bar, she redefined it. That's a metric of success that stats can't always capture. It's about presence, timing, and energy. Clark isn't just the best player on the court. She's the most important figure in the building. She's the reason first-time viewers stick around, the reason rival fans show up, and the reason the league's future feels brighter than ever.
She's such a big star is she's gotten people that normally wouldn't consume the WNBA to consume it. All right, and that's where the 3 times the amount of new fans have shown up, right? We were already sports fans, you know, MLB, WWE, AEW, NFL, college football, NBA. You get my point. But all of a sudden, it got us to glancing over here. You know? I mean, I pulled up the Indiana Fever schedule last night because we're planning out a live schedule so we can start going live multiple times a week.
Even the haters are flipping. Kennedy Carter, who infamously took a shot at Clark last season, is changing her tune. She went from questioning Clark's game to calling her a great player. That shift doesn't come easy, especially not from a competitor like Carter, someone who believes she's the best every time she steps on the court. Carter's turnaround shows just how undeniable Clark's game has become. We're not talking about soft praise. We're talking about hard-earned respect, the kind that only comes when a rival sees you dominate and can't help but tip their cap. This is Clark's influence at its most impressive, not in highlight reels, but in the hearts and minds of her toughest critics.
So lads, today we are going to be talking about something that is a really, really interesting one. And obviously it is about Kennedy Carter. It is about Kennedy Carter. And I'm such a big fan of, I'm such a big fan of Kennedy Carter, the player. And Kennedy Carter is such a breath of fresh air when it comes to some of the WNBA things, because Kennedy Carter just says whatever the hell is on her mind. For better or for worse, you know what you're going to get with Kennedy Carter. And by that, you mean you have not got a clue what's going to happen day by day. But one big thing.
But that's the thing. Clark isn't just winning games. She's winning over doubters. Slowly but surely, the league's biggest skeptics are turning into believers. Because at some point, you can't deny greatness. You can't overlook what she's doing on the floor, not when every game feels like a moment and every possession tells a story. And this transformation matters beyond the WNBA. It sets a precedent. Future stars won't just inherit a league, they'll inherit a fan base built on legitimacy, not novelty. Clark is laying the foundation for what women's basketball can be when it's taken seriously, supported properly, and celebrated without caveats.
Anything against her. She's a great player, and so am I. And I've got buckets all that season, you know?
And I genuinely believe that. Kennedy Carter is not somebody that has a filter. Not someone that has a filter at all. And I cannot believe that she's not in the WNBA. I understand that she can be a little bit toxic as a teammate, but I'm sorry. In no other sport has a top 8 player in the world ever been out of the league because they're a little bit toxic. If she was at the level of a Dana Evans, fair enough. Even if she was at the level of, I don't know, a Ty Harris, fair enough. But she is at the...
It's no longer a question of if Clark is good enough. The conversation has shifted to how big she'll be. And for someone like Kennedy Carter to acknowledge her in the same breath, even while keeping her own ego intact, that's huge. It signals something bigger than rivalry. It signals transformation. This is what true impact looks like. Not just individual accolades, but reshaping how people talk about and participate in an entire sport. When rivals become fans and fans become ambassadors, you know something real is happening. Clark isn't chasing greatness. She's defining it.
I do think this is just a crazy situation. Who would have ever guessed as well that Kennedy Carter would be where we'd hear the positive stuff about Kennedy Carter on a neon strip. I came to the 2K community. I was around long enough to remember when he used to pretend to be Ronnie 2K's son. When that's how he initially got his hype. But yeah, so Kennedy Carter praising Caitlin Clark in any way, even if you don't believe that it's that's the greatest hype in the world. The fact, just saying the words, Caitlin's a great player. Obviously, she has to.
We're witnessing a generational shift, not just in talent, but in visibility, in how the game is packaged, sold, and consumed. Clark isn't just a player, she's a cultural tipping point. And in a sports world dominated by legacy franchises and old narratives, she's writing a brand new story. And that story is already global. From the US to Europe to the Philippines, fans are tuning in for Clark. Because when a star this bright emerges, the whole basketball world gets a little warmer. We're not just watching the future, we're living in it.
The NBA Finals happens, you see then, or even just in the playoffs when your team gets knocked out of the playoffs, where you see fans of the men's team in that city convert into fans of the women's team because ball is ball. And we're seeing more and more and more of that, which is a really good thing. It's a really good thing for the long-term growth of the sport on the women's side. It's a really good thing for the long-term growth of the sport in general. are people not realizing that the more people that are watching basketball, whether it be men's, whether it be women's, the more likely people are to fall in love with the sport. And the more people that fall in love with the sport, the better the standard of the sport's going to be, the more the sport's going to grow, not only in the United States, amongst men, but amongst more than half of the population.
The NBA, WNBA, fans, players, media, they all feel it. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't fading. It's expanding into arenas, into television contracts, into countries where fans are just now discovering what she can do. This is more than hype. It's the beginning of something massive. We're not just talking legacy. We're talking legacy in real time. Every time Clark steps on the floor, she's adding to the mythos. And for the first time, that myth belongs just as much to the WNBA as it does to any other league on earth.
It is absolutely factual. It's pretty wild. So, yeah, WrestleMania starts tonight. I'm looking at Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels paused right now because he's getting ready to introduce Triple H, who went into the Hall of Fame last night. WrestleMania this is wrestling's Super Bowl. Tonight, tomorrow night, in case people are wondering, you're a Seth Rollins fan, you're wondering where the hell his wife, Becky Lynch, is. She was in the crowd. They just showed her sitting next to Seth. So she's still in the WWE. She hadn't left. I know there's been a lot of speculation that she would have bolted out or could have bolted out to go somewhere else, but it looks...
So here's the final word. When you're the reason fans are watching basketball in the middle of summer, you've earned your crown. Caitlin Clark isn't just good for the WNBA. She might be the best thing to happen to basketball in decades. And the craziest part? She's just getting started. Let us know what you think. Are we witnessing the rise of a once-in-a-generation superstar? Or is Clark simply the first wave in a much bigger movement? Either way, one thing is clear. She's already changed the game.